Okay, we're going to be covering installing and activating your Crate Pro database. Now, by the time you've gotten to this point, you should have received the email from us that includes all of your files, your Crate Pro installation files, your FileMaker installation files, license files, and a number of instructions. Make sure that you do have those backed up in a safe place. Now, regardless of the configuration that you have that you're going to be running, whether it's standalone, peer-to-peer, or client server, and regardless of the number and type of licenses that you have, the installation that we're doing here and activation is going to be the same. So you should have already watched a video or have a good understanding of the configuration that you're going to be using here. But again, regardless of configuration, everything is going to be the same here. So what I've done is gone ahead and created on my primary drive a folder named Crate Pro 6. You can have Crate Pro or Crate Pro 6. We do recommend that you put it on your primary drive. Now, this computer that we're working on is either going to be the host of a standalone database. So if you just bought one license, then just keep going, ignore what I'm going to say following here. If you're in any sort of a client server environment, you need to be doing this locally on one of the computers that is going to be the client. Okay, it's when we go through and do the installation and activation, the license is going to tie to this computer. So you do want to make sure that you're doing it on a computer that is going to be licensed. So regardless of if you're on Mac or Windows, you're going to have one of your files is going to be the Crate Pro 6.zip file. Go ahead and unpack that, and we'll go ahead and extract it to the current location where we are. So once we have that extracted, now again, you've already got a backup of this file, so we're going to go ahead and delete that for now and get it out of our way. The migration utility is only used for upgrading from one build to the next, so we're going to get rid of that and get it out of the way. So we have two files, the Crate Pro 6 file, commonly referred to as the Crate Pro file or the primary file. So the file has to be renamed to support multiple locations. So let's say you've got a facility in New York and one in San Francisco, and you run both of those from one central office, and you have your servers in that office. So you're going to end up with two copies of Crate Pro, the Crate Pro primary file running off from the same server. So that's the reason that it has to be renamed, and the renaming has to be done regardless of if you are running one copy, just one location, or multiple locations. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to go ahead and edit the file name, and we're going to start it out with the name of our company. I like to use Joe's Crating. And now this is important. You have to have a space, hyphen, space after that, and then something to identify the location. That could be an airport IATA code, it could be a state, it could be a country, whatever. It's just something to identify the market you're in. We're in the Orlando area, so I'm just going to put in Orlando, and we have to have a space, hyphen, space again. And then we're going to leave the original file name, Crate Pro 6, and the extension, which you may or may not see, depending on your configuration. Now, if you are installing Crate Pro for multiple locations, then you're going to need multiple copies of this file. If you're only using one location, you don't need to do this. You only need the one copy. Okay? In this case, need to make sure that we remove the hyphen and copy that's added at the end, and then we need to change the location. And so let's say our second location is the San Francisco Bay Area. So now we have two of our primary files. If they run off from the same server, they're going to share the one supplement file. So you still only need one supplement file. If you do send it off to two separate locations, then you are going to have two supplement files, but in that case, you should probably be doing this at two locations, in which case you're only going to be doing one file at a time. So let's go ahead and delete the second file. Everything we do from here on out is going to be the same for each of them. Okay, so we have our file all ready to go, and we're going to open up FileMaker. FileMaker is going to start opening with a quick start window. You're probably not going to use that, so let's turn that off and close it. Now, because we're using the file remotely, we're going to use File Open. If we're opening this as a client, so once you start using Crate Pro, if it's not the database. It's not physically located on the server that you're running it from. It's very likely that you're not hosting it. If you're not hosting it, you need to use Open Remote. So if you are hosting it, or if it's single user, you only purchased one license, you're going to open Crate Pro just like you would any other program with File Open. I'll talk about the Open Remote in another video. I want to emphasize it a little bit here right now. It's critical that if you're a system admin or you're a little more tech savvy, you don't do something like create a share with a drive letter so that everybody can just go directly to the file and open it. It has to be opened first by one copy of FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Server so that the FileMaker product can manage the multiple users and the file doesn't end up getting damaged. So again, we are running it locally right now on one of the computers. It's going to be a client, so we're going to use File Open, and we're going to go ahead and open the primary file. Okay, the first time you open the file, it's going to ask you if you're doing a new file installation or migration. It's going to give you a chance to confirm the name that you used, and we're doing a new installation here, obviously. Again, we're going to confirm the name. Now this is your last chance if you want to change name. Once you go forward with this, the name can't be changed, and it's what shows up on top of the windows as well. So let's go ahead and continue. Now we're at our standard login screen. Typically when you start Crate Pro, this is what you're going to see and all of your users are going to see. As I mentioned earlier, Crate Pro comes pre-populated with a lot of sample data that includes a lot of sample users. I do recommend some of the sample data you're going to end up keeping, like inventory. It's easier to take what's in there and convert it for your own use. But some of the sample data you're going to remove. I really recommend that you go through and remove all of the sample users for security. So right now there is an admin user in Crate Pro with a password of admin so that you can go in and set it up. Once you do get it set up, please go in and delete that user. Create another admin user using your name, something that you're familiar with, and use your own password. But after you get done setting it up, please do remove the admin user. For right now, we're going to go ahead and use the username admin with the password of admin. And as it says down here, it's not going to tell you, obviously, what the password is after this has been set up, after the setup's complete. You're going to see the license agreement. You need to agree to the terms, accept it, and go forward. United States and primary metric country is pretty self-evident, but there are materials in here if you're in a country that uses mixed imperial and metric materials. So for example, there are countries that have plywood that's 1/2 inch thick and 1/4 inch thick, but it's 1220 by 2440 in dimensions. If you're in a country such as that, you'd select the primary imperial country. In this case, we're going to set it up for the United States. It's going to be the most common for us. And we'll continue and confirm that. Now, if we did select something other than the United States, right there in between, we would have seen another screen to allow us to convert the currency. Because Crate Pro is pre-populated with a lot of inventory items, it's also pre-populated with some prices. Although those prices aren't going to be yours, they're not going to be accurate, they're going to be kind of close. So we give you the chance to run a currency conversion from US dollar that's in there right now to your currency. So when you start using it, you'll have a good idea of its accuracy, Crate Pro's accuracy right off. Okay, let's continue. If you're in a country that does use a postal code, you do have to put in a postal code. And I'm just going to put this in for the purpose of the video and continue and confirm it, and then put in some basic. Now, there's a number of fields in Crate Pro that use a mask, and that's not too important right here, but let me go ahead and take a second to show you what it is, because this is the first time people run into it and get a little confused. So let's go ahead and put in a fax number. Override mask is turned off, as it usually is, but I put in a wrong number, and we'll continue on to the next field. So what it's doing is showing us a couple of number signs in red, indicating that we probably made a mistake there. Now, we did say we're in the United States, so that isn't a valid number in the United States. We can go in and fix it, but let's say that we're putting in a customer. We've gone past this setup process, and we're putting in a customer that's in a foreign country, and they have a different phone number format. In that case, we can override the mask, And what that's going to do, I'll go ahead and make this change, is it's not going to show us that error message. That's what you want to call it. So it's going to assume whatever we put in is correct. And there are various different masks for different countries in some cases. In this case, we'll go ahead and leave that off though, and we'll fix this and put in an email address. And this is going to be my primary email address as it pertains to customers. So sales@joescrating.com. It's going to ask for a little information for us to help be able to work with you and contact you. You can just click same as company, and then I'll uncheck those and go in, and here I'm going to put in Mike is my IT guy, and well, Mike is also my brother. So he's the technical contact, and I'm the only one who can purchase licenses. And I'm Joe, so I'm going to leave myself in there, put Mike in as the technical contact. Okay, we're not going to get into most of the setup now in this video. That's going to be in coming videos. There's going to be a lot to it, but you do have the option to do some basic price setup here. And that again is so that once we get past this setup, this installation, and before the majority of the setup, you'll be able to go in and start using Crate Pro to get familiar with it. And we want to have things accurate enough so that you can see the results and have a level of comfort. So most people will have just one hourly billing rate. If that's the case for you, go ahead and put in your hourly rate in all these fields. It may be $30 an hour, it may be $100 an hour. Whatever you charge and your hourly burden, you can put that in here as well. If you charge simply with a markup or margin, then you'd put a percentage in here, and you'd enter your hourly cost, whatever your hourly burden is, in all of these fields, and then put in the markup in this field, and it'll calculate based on that. All right, let's assume that we've done that and go ahead and continue. Now, here's where we're going to send in our activation request. You can see on the right here the data that's going to be sent to us with the activation request. We're going to go ahead and click to submit. It's going to ask how many licenses did we purchase. So let's say that we purchased 3 DALs and 5 EALs, and we'll say OK to continue. Now, Crate Pro does offer you the option to email directly from here or send from the clipboard. For right now, we still have the email deactivated during the setup process because of some government requirements. It makes it a lot easier for us and less confusing. So what I do recommend is go ahead and copy this data to the clipboard by selecting Clipboard. And I'll put it to the clipboard, and then open up your email client and send it to activate@cratepro.com. So all you've got to do is email it to that address. Then after a little bit of time, it may not be the same day, we'll go ahead and email it back to you. Now, until Crate Pro is activated, you're going to have access to this screen directly, but when you get your license key back, you may be in Crate Pro somewhere. So what you can do is go to Preferences, go to the Licensing tab in Preferences, and say Enter your license key, and it's just going to bring you right back to where we were a second ago. Select Enter your license key here. I have it copied to the clipboard. We'll paste it in and say OK. And now it's licensed. So let's go back to Preferences again and go back to the Licensing tab, and you can see that Crate Pro is licensed for 3 DALs and 5 EALs. So that's it for the installation and activation. I do recommend you make a backup of the file again right now. Again, Crate Pro comes with a lot of default data. It also has a lot of settings. So there's backup options. Right now we're running standalone. It's pre-configured, so standalone. When we go to close Crate Pro, it's going to tell us, hey, do a backup. So this is a good time to go ahead and do your first backup. You've got your license key entered. Everything is ready to go. So go ahead and save it, put it with all of your original files, and then you're ready to go.